I found hidden cameras everywhere, recording my every move, my private moments. How could the family I trusted turn my life into their secret show? Hey there. Thanks for stopping by for today's story. Whatever you're doing right now, get comfy and get ready because this one's a powerful journey you won't want to miss. We're diving into the life of someone who thought she was coming home, only to find herself trapped in a situation that might feel familiar to many. Ever felt watched, controlled, or just not quite free? Stick around and see how she finds her way out. And hey, if you like what you hear, don't forget to hit subscribe. It really helps me keep bringing you stories like this. Thanks so much for being here.
If you ever told me a few months ago that I'd be living under the watchful eyes of hidden cameras inside what was supposed to be my sanctuary, I wouldn't have believed you. But here I am. And trust me, the story you're about to hear isn't some overblown drama. It's my life, my truth. My name's Mike Carter. I'm 67 years old. Used to be a college librarian, the kind of job where silence is golden and books become your closest friends. Life was simple, comfortable. After my husband passed, the quiet around my little suburban townhouse felt suffocating, but familiar. That's when my son, Ethan, and his wife, Olivia, stepped in with a solution. It sounded perfect at first. Mom, why don't you move in with us? We have plenty of space in our downtown loft, Olivia said during one of our Zoom calls. The loft was the kind of place that magazine covers dream about. Glass walls, minimalist furniture, and smart tech everywhere. Alexa, Nest cameras, and voice-activated lights. Ethan said it would be easier for all of us, especially with the grandkids, Lucas and Emma, running around. I hesitated. Change is hard when you're older, and the thought of leaving my cozy home filled with decades of memories was painful. But they insisted. You'll have your privacy, Ethan promised, and we'll help out with everything. So, against my better instincts, I packed up my life and moved in. The first few days, I was enchanted by the city view and the convenience, but something gnawed at me, a sense that this beautiful glass box wasn't quite the warm home I'd imagined. The day Olivia handed me the smart home tablet with a sweet smile, saying, "Treat this place like your own," I felt an odd chill. The loft was spotless, almost sterile. Every object precisely placed, every sound monitored. The digital assistant chimed before I could finish a sentence. The cameras, I learned later, were everywhere. It wasn't trust. It was surveillance disguised as hospitality. The loft was breathtakingly beautiful, no doubt about it. Floor-to-ceiling windows stretched across the entire south-facing wall, bathing the open-concept living space in natural light. The polished concrete floors reflected that light, adding to the crisp, clean feeling that enveloped the entire place. Every surface gleamed. Every item was intentionally placed. It looked like a showroom, or maybe an art installation, minimalist to the point of being clinical. But for all its elegance, it lacked something essential: warmth. There were no family photos on the walls, no worn-out blankets tossed over the couch, no stacks of dog-eared books or scattered toys. Even the plants in the corner seemed carefully selected for their sculptural form rather than their life. This place felt like it was designed for display, not for living. I tried to convince myself that this was the lifestyle Ethan and Olivia had chosen: sleek, modern, efficient, and that I should try to adapt. I spent the first few days unpacking my belongings. placing them neatly in the closet they had set aside for me. My clothes hung perfectly aligned on hangers. My books arranged by color on the shelf. Olivia insisted I keep dust-free. The system felt alien, but I was determined to fit in. Mornings became a strange routine. The smart blinds automatically raised to reveal the city skyline. The temperature adjusted to the perfect degree, and the coffee machine brewed itself just before I woke. I would sit at the kitchen island, made of pristine marble, smooth and cold under my fingertips, and sip the perfectly measured cup of tea Olivia had taught me to enjoy. Yet, I felt like a guest who was tolerated, never quite welcome. Olivia was always there, hovering on the edge of conversations, but never fully present. Her smile was polished, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. When I folded the towels incorrectly or used the hand soap reserved for guests, her gaze lingered a little too long. She would make offhand comments about keeping the space nice or respecting the house, but there was an undercurrent of judgment that I couldn't ignore. Despite this, I kept trying. I volunteered to pick up Lucas and Emma from school, to help with homework, to prepare meals. I wanted to be a good grandmother, a good daughter-in-law, but the more I tried to blend in, the more invisible I felt. I was present but unseen, helpful but unheard. It was a strange dance, contributing to the family while shrinking myself, hoping to avoid conflict. One day, I noticed a curious detail. The lights in the hallway turned on moments before I reached the switch. Alexa responded to things I hadn't addressed directly to her. Doors and cabinets clicked softly when I thought I'd closed them quietly. The house seemed to anticipate my every move. It was unsettling. I told myself it was the marvel of technology, that this was a smart home operating at peak efficiency. But there was something else, the weight to the silence, an almost palpable tension in the air. Then came the night I saw the blinking red light. I was in the guest bedroom, settling in after a long day with the kids. As I reached to switch off the lamp, I noticed a tiny, persistent red glow near the ceiling. It blinked steadily, almost like a heartbeat. At first, I assumed it was a security alarm or some sensor, but it didn't feel right. I studied it for a long time, feeling a cold knot twist in my stomach. The blinking wasn't random, it was deliberate. My experience in the library had acquainted me with surveillance technology, hidden cameras, microphones, motion detectors. This was one of them. I lay awake that night, my eyes fixed on the tiny red dot. I imagined Olivia on a beach somewhere, her sunglasses reflecting the screen of her phone as she scrolled through a live feed of my movements. The way I brewed my tea, the way I rubbed my temples when I read, the quiet moments I thought were mine alone, all captured, analyzed. Sleep eluded me. The following days, I began noticing even more the way the thermostat adjusted the temperature as I moved through rooms, the automatic door locks clicking when I entered or left a space, and the subtle hum of electronics hidden behind walls. Each discovery chipped away at the fragile trust I had tried to build. I was living under a microscope. I started to watch Olivia and Ethan more closely, too. Olivia's conversations with Ethan were often hushed, filled with coded language and quick glances. One morning, I overheard Olivia remark, "We need to keep tabs on Mom, just to be sure she's okay." The way she said it sent a chill through me. It wasn't concern, it was control. The loft's design amplified the sense of isolation. Its open floor plan meant there were no closed doors, only sliding glass panels that offered transparency at the cost of privacy. I often felt exposed, vulnerable, as though my every move was under scrutiny. At night, the loft's lights dimmed on their own schedule, and the smart speakers softly played classical music, a soundtrack to a life I no longer recognized as mine. I felt trapped in a golden cage. Despite the modern conveniences, the high-tech security system, and the promise of family, I was more alone than I had ever been. I found myself retreating into old habits, reading in corners, tending to my plants on the balcony, trying to reclaim small pockets of peace. But even these moments were tinged with paranoia. Where were the cameras? How many were there? What else was I missing? I became a silent observer in my own life, hyper-aware of every sound, every shadow. The house that promised comfort now felt like a prison. This was my glass house. The days following that unsettling night became a blur of quiet suspicion and cautious exploration. I couldn't shake the feeling that this beautiful, high-tech loft was watching me, tracking my every move, listening to my whispered thoughts. What had started as a nagging doubt blossomed into a chilling certainty. It was time to find out the truth. I began my investigation the way a librarian might approach a mystery, methodical, patient, and with an eye for detail. I moved through the loft slowly, pretending to dust and rearrange items, all the while scanning for anything unusual. What caught my attention first was a small, almost imperceptible lens hidden among the decorative books on the living room shelf. It was concealed beneath a sticker that perfectly matched the book's spine to be an accident. In the kitchen, I noticed an innocuous digital timer above the refrigerator, but a faint red dot gleamed faintly from a tiny hole near its edge. It was a camera, no doubt. I felt the walls closing around me. The dining room light fixture revealed yet another surveillance eye, tiny black dots staring directly down at the table where we shared meals. The hallway thermostat, sleek and modern, housed a lens that caught every step I took in the corridor. Even in the laundry room, a seemingly innocent motion detector concealed a camera watching silently from its perch. My breath caught as realization sunk deeper. This wasn't about home security. It was about control and surveillance. I jotted down every device's location in a small notebook I found in a junk drawer. The act of writing felt like reclaiming a small piece of power in an environment designed to strip it away. The loft's upstairs office was the final frontier. Olivia had always said it was off-limits, a space for her freelance work and private files. But one afternoon, the door was ajar. I hesitated, then pushed it open. Inside, the room was a stark contrast to the pristine minimalism below. It was cluttered, busy, filled with tangled wires, monitors, and tech gadgets blinking with life. On the desk, a laptop sat unlocked, its screen displaying a desktop background of the grandkids hiking on a sunlit trail. My heart pounded as I clicked on a folder named Footage. The files were organized by date and room: kitchen _042524, living room _042623, guest room _042722. I opened one. There I was reading on the sofa, unaware that I was being recorded. Every small gesture, every sigh, every private moment captured in crystal clear video. I watched myself sip tea, rub my eyes, and shift uncomfortably on the cushion. My privacy, stripped bare and laid out for scrutiny. Another folder contained short clips tagged with notes like muttering, tears, and nostalgic gaze. It was clinical, detached, as if I were an experiment rather than family. The weight of that truth crushed me. But the worst was yet to come. In another file, I found a video of Olivia laughing on a video call with someone unknown. She cradled a glass of wine and mocked me softly, describing how I talked to myself more than I spoke to the kids. Her words stung worse than any betrayal. I think she's the perfect subject for a documentary. Portrait of the Forgotten Matriarch. I sat frozen, the room spinning around me. I wasn't just being watched, I was being studied, analyzed, reduced to a character in their twisted project. That night, I lay awake, surrounded by silent monitors and blinking lights. No longer a mother or grandmother, but a captive of their surveillance. I knew then that this beautiful loft was nothing more than a gilded cage. The moment I knew I couldn't stay silent any longer came quietly, without fanfare, after days of wrestling with my discovery, gathering evidence, and steeling my nerves. I was ready to face Ethan and Olivia, not as the compliant mother-in-law who once moved in with hope, but as a woman reclaiming her dignity. They returned late one evening, the soft hum of the city settling around the loft as their car rolled to a stop. Ethan was the first through the door, tired from the trip but expecting the calm routine of the home they had left behind. Olivia followed close behind, her laughter still light but eyes sharper now, perhaps sensing the tension before it was spoken. I stood in the living room, my arms folded, holding the weight of the photographs and videos I had printed in a neat stack. They didn't see me at first, their attention caught by the familiar layout, the smart assistant's gentle greeting, the way everything looked exactly as they had left it. Then Ethan noticed the photos. "Mom, what's all this?" His voice was careful but edged with something I couldn't quite place. Was it defensiveness? Guilt? I gestured toward the table, where I had placed the pictures for them to see. Each one showed me alone, unaware, caught in moments I had believed were private. There I was brushing my hair in the morning light, sitting in the living room reading, even a picture of me asleep. Some had handwritten labels. Lonely, confused, off behavior. Olivia's face went pale. She crossed her arms, a silent shield. Ethan shifted uncomfortably, but held my gaze. "This isn't how family treats family," I said slowly, deliberately. "You invited me here, said you trusted me. Yet, you spent months watching me through hidden cameras, recording my every move, my private moments. You turned my life into a show, something to analyze and discuss behind my back." Olivia's voice broke, defensive but shaky. "It wasn't personal. We just wanted to make sure you were safe. The house is big." We worried. I cut her off. Safety or control? Surveillance disguised as concern. There was no consent, no warning, no respect. Ethan opened his mouth but hesitated, as if the words had been rehearsed but now sounded hollow. "We didn't mean to hurt you. The cameras. It was supposed to be temporary." I shook my head. "Temporary or not, the damage is real. You stripped away my privacy. You made me feel like a prisoner in my own family." A heavy silence fell. Then Ethan spoke, his voice lower, tinged with regret. "Mom, I'm sorry. We thought we were doing the right thing. We thought you'd understand." "Understand what?" I asked, voice firm. "That I was a subject to be observed, that my feelings didn't matter, that you could decide when I was safe enough to be trusted." Olivia stepped forward, her eyes glistening. "I'm hurt," she said quietly. "Hurt that you didn't tell us you were looking through our things. Hurt that you betrayed our trust. Hurt," I repeated incredulously. "Maybe you should try feeling what it's like to be the one betrayed. To have your privacy invaded every day. To have your life reduced to footage and notes on your emotional tone." Ethan looked away, conflicted. The confident son I once knew seemed to shrink before me, replaced by a man grappling with the consequences of his choices. "I don't want to fight," he said finally. "We want to make things right. Let's talk. Let's find a way forward." I considered his words carefully. The cracks in their defense were visible, but trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt with mere words. "Not yet. I want space," I said, voice steady. "Physical, emotional, legal space. I want to live without being watched, controlled, or diminished. If that means leaving this home, so be it." They nodded, though the pain lingered in Olivia's eyes. The woman who had once welcomed me with practiced smiles now seemed lost, unsure. That night, as I lay in the guest room, the weight of the confrontation settled around me like a fog. I felt both exhausted and liberated. I had spoken my truth. The loft no longer felt like a prison, but a battleground where I had claimed a piece of my freedom back. The morning after the confrontation, the loft felt different, less like a gilded cage, and more like a battlefield I was beginning to take control of. I woke up before sunrise, the city's first light filtering softly through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The silence was almost sacred, a quiet promise of change. But I knew the fight wasn't over yet. I sat at the kitchen island with a steaming cup of black coffee, my fingers wrapped tightly around the mug. I thought about the conversation from last night, Ethan's hesitant words, Olivia's hurt silence. I knew they wanted to make amends, but trust once broken isn't easily repaired. The first step was to reach out to someone I could rely on, someone with the knowledge and experience to help me navigate this mess. Marcus Lee, a longtime friend and family law attorney, was the person I called. His voice, warm and steady, was a balm. "I have everything," I told him. "Photos, videos, recordings, proof of invasion, of betrayal. What can I do?" He listened quietly, then said, "We start by establishing your rights. You contributed to that home, Maya, whether they framed it as a gift or not. There's a case to be made. We'll draft a formal request for compensation or a stake in the property, and we'll push to have those surveillance devices removed permanently." Relief mingled with determination. I wasn't alone anymore. In the days that followed, I took back small pieces of my life, asserting my presence in ways that felt both rebellious and healing. I lit candles in the evenings, filling the loft with soft amber light that chased away the sterile glare. I played jazz records on the vintage turntable Ethan had brought home years ago, but never unpacked. I danced in the living room when no one was watching, feet bare on the cool floor, laughter spilling from my lips like a secret joy. I left books and photographs on tables, traces of myself that refused to be erased. I took long, meandering phone calls with old friends, speaking loudly and unapologetically. I cooked meals with my own flair, letting the smells drift through the open space. Every act was a declaration. I was here. I was real. I was not invisible. Ethan and Olivia watched, sometimes with confusion, sometimes with unease. They saw a woman who would no longer play the quiet, compliant role, a woman who knew her worth and was ready to claim it. One afternoon, Marcus joined us on a video call. His professionalism was unwavering as he explained the legal steps we were taking, the boundaries we would set. Olivia's arms remained crossed, but even she couldn't deny the truth in his words. Ethan looked tired, but resolute, perhaps realizing that the mother he thought he knew had transformed into someone far stronger. The terms were clear: removal of all surveillance, acknowledgement of the breach of privacy, repayment for my investment in the home, or an equitable stake, and the freedom to live without fear or control. I nodded silently, feeling a weight lift from my chest. This was no longer about punishment or revenge. It was about respect, dignity, and reclaiming a life that had been overshadowed for too long. With the legal framework in place, I began searching for a new place, a space that would be truly mine. It didn't have to be grand. I wanted a home with a porch where I could sip tea in the morning sun, a garden wild enough to lose myself in, rooms filled with memories of my own making. When I found the small cottage on the edge of town, it felt like a gift. The blue door, the ivy climbing the fence, the soft hum of life beyond the windows all spoke to me of freedom. The owner, Grace Thompson, welcomed me with open arms and a warm smile, and for the first time in months, I felt hope. Packing my belongings was bittersweet. I folded shirts and wrapped old books, carefully placing away letters from friends and a faded photo of David and me from a long-ago trip. Ethan helped with the heavy boxes, his presence quiet but respectful. Olivia was absent, perhaps still processing, perhaps choosing distance. On moving day, as I locked the cottage door behind me, a calm settled in my bones. This was my sanctuary, my space, my life. The first morning in my new home was unlike any I'd known. I woke with the light, not to an alarm or the hum of electronics, but to the soft chirping of birds. The hardwood floor creaked beneath my bare feet as I walked to the kitchen, sunlight spilling across the tiles in golden patches. I made coffee on the stove, humming a tune David used to sing to me. The garden outside was a patchwork of rosemary, wildflowers, and ivy, tangled and free. I breathed in deeply, savoring the scent of earth and possibility. Here, I was free from watchful eyes and whispered judgments, free to be loud, to be messy, to be myself. Over the next weeks, I created new rituals, writing notes to myself, lighting candles without ceremony, letting laughter fill the rooms. I tended the garden, watched the sky, and welcomed visits from Lucas and Emma, who ran through the wild grass like it was their secret kingdom. One afternoon, as I sat with Lucas picking flowers, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. Daniel, my grandson, looked at me thoughtfully and said, "You seem happy, Grandma." I smiled, the truth shining clear. I was. The path here had been rocky, filled with pain and betrayal, But I had reclaimed my story. I was no longer just a figure in someone else's narrative. I was the author of my own, and this was just the beginning.
Thank you so much for staying with me through this story. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What moved you, surprised you, or maybe made you think differently? Drop your feelings, reactions, or reflections in the comments below. And if this story touched you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss the next chapter of journeys just like this. Your support means the world, and I can't wait to share more with you. Until then, take care and keep embracing your own story.